Hello my friends and welcome. As for the military map update, still Ukraine has few of the vectors of attack, one towards Novoprokopivka from Robotyne, yes, we're speaking about this area, one directly to the south to reach the Russian defense lines, and the other one is over here. Here the map is a little different. Now Ukrainian army was able to get this place under control. We may confirm it from the other resources, including a deep state military map, plus the videos and photos that were taken on the front lines, including the drone images. And now let's see what is happening exactly on the front lines from some of the videos. Russia sent reinforcements to Verbovo. It's not far away from Robotyne, and Ukraine has the vector towards that place, as I showed you on the military map just a few seconds ago. So here are a few of the tracks of the Russian Federation Army, which carry lots of the infantry forces. Those vehicles were spotted by Ukrainian side. Even though they were very close to this forest line, they're still very well identifiable and visible for the drone simple cameras. By the way, this video I will upload on my Telegram channel, and not only this one. So for more information, please subscribe for my Telegram channel. You may find the link in the video description just below, or scan the QR code, it's on the screen. So here you can see what Ukraine used to target that convoy. Yes, the cluster munition. As you see, this particular one missed the target, or not. Actually, it's not like that. Even though the convoy is located over here, the lower part of the clusters sent the shrapnel towards the Russian convoy, and it was not just one cluster shell. There were many actually, so some of the vehicles may look like intact, but the tiny little shrapnels hit everything around, including the vehicles and the Russian infantry itself. I believe that those could be the Russian paratroop divisions from the 76th Army, which is based in Pskov, and lately they lost also many of the airplanes. Well, for today those are just trucks or lorries. Those are Urals, quite big trucks, and inside for sure there were some of the munition, at least in this truck, which kaboomed, plus lots of the infantry. We saw the infantry in the beginning of the video, so some of the soldiers were staying near to the tracks and over here as well, so they all kaput, I think. But let's talk about the Russian heroes. Indeed, there are some heroes in the Russian army. For example, this guy is the Russian military helicopter pilot who delivered the helicopter to Ukrainian territory. This operation was conducted this summer, so the helicopter landed not far away from the Poltava airfield. Our guys took it under control on the ground. The Russian pilot was in a contact with the Ukrainian GUR special services, and together they made it happen. There were totally 3 crew members on board, but 2 started to resist. That is why they lost their lives. Unfortunately for them, because the delivery of this helicopter to Ukraine costs $500,000, so Ukraine pays the money for the Russian pilots. So the guy who survived, who actually was in a contact with the Ukrainian special forces, who delivered this helicopter, he obtained that sum, and Ukraine gets perfectly airworthy helicopter. From what I understood, the family of the Russian pilot also left the Russian Federation through the third countries, and now they're all in Ukraine. This pilot says, I still don't know his name by the way, that he doesn't believe in the Russian propaganda, and he is sure that Ukraine will win this war. So it is better not to conduct war crimes and just surrender with the vehicle and have the other chance for your next life, especially with the funds you obtain from that. Awesome. The Mi-8 helicopter is not that exclusive or that expensive compared to the Russian K-52 attack helicopter or Mi-28 or Mi-24. But we have all of the necessary facilities to support this helicopter airworthy, because we have lots of them in Ukrainian army. Also, this operation is the great advertisement for the Russian army, to show that it is possible to give up your equipment and to give up your past life in dictatorship country. Here you obtain quite a nice sum to restart your life again, not just in Ukraine but in some European countries Also, from what I understood, our allies support that move so they may give the shelter for this pilot, not in Ukraine but in European Union, because still there are some forces in Ukraine that may reach this guy, because Russia has intelligence in Ukraine too. And this guy is very reasonable, he is smart. If I was a Russian helicopter or airplane pilot, I would do the same. By the way, for the airplane, it's $1 million. Now let's go to the drone videos again. So this is the Russian boat, and they land some of the forces on the shore and the northern part of the Black Sea. However, our Bayraktar spotted this boat and decided to fire the shell. So before and after. Here, this boat was targeted and later on it sank down to the bottom. No more boat for Russia. It is just a small transport vehicle, and Russia actually was able to land their forces on the shore. However, some people still stayed in the boat. Well, this is the very interesting satellite image of Tupolev Tu-95, the Russian strategic bomber. At first, the Russian media say that they have the new painting on top of their wings and fuselage for masking. But later on, after zooming, we may see that there are lots of the car tires lying on top of those airplanes. They use it as the defense against the drone attacks. So according to the Russian logic, it should work as the trampoline, so drones or bombs just going to hit the airplane, then they spring out like in a cartoon movie of Warner Brothers. The next step is to weld the metal grille on top of the strategic bombers, like they do on their tanks. Alright, we have more videos from Bayraktar. This time it's the Russian lorry, and it was targeted by the Turkish-made UAV. It's been a while since we saw the Bayraktar TB2 in action, so they resumed flying, and I have some of my mates flying that thing. Guys, you are awesome. By the way, the chief of the Ukrainian intelligence Davydov had many of the interviews with the Russian pilots who were shot down over Ukraine. Those pilots say that indeed the Ukrainian air defense rules and they cannot do anything over Ukraine nowadays. That is why Russia doesn't risk to use their aviation in Ukraine and sends rockets and drones. Davydov admitted that most of the Russian pilots are well-trained and professionals in their job. However, he said that there is the big gap between pilot levels. For example, high-rank officers who had the military experience in Syria and in other conflicts, they know what they do. But the Russian low-rank staff and young officers, young pilots, they're in lack of everything. For their military chiefs, it's better to send the experienced soldiers, Top Guns on the missions, but those Top Guns are not forever and Ukraine shut down many of them. That is why now Russia have to send the young pilots, so the quality of accomplishment of those missions drops. We already saw that stuff in Belgorod Oblast. Then the Russian Freedom Legion entered the Russian territory, they captured the base, and Russian bombers missed the base from the very low altitude, almost impossible for experienced Russian pilots. So the Russian system creates its own problems. Meanwhile, the Russian army decides to move all of the available air defense systems to protect the Moscow city against the drone attacks. For that purpose, they use quite a unique Panzer S-1 system. It has rockets, radars, and the guns. But this system wasn't designed for those stationary missions. They're based on Kama's platform. It has the high maneuverability and it is used on the front lines for short and middle range air defense. Here Russia just put them somewhere in Moscow region. Very effective system, by the way, but they use them in a very stupid way. They even built those kind of the platforms. Well, the more of those systems Russia will use to protect the Moscow, the less will be sent in Ukraine. Sometimes they also use this kind of the big metal construction, so you need really lots of the funds to support those air defense systems in Moscow. There is some fighting inside the Russian Federation. This case happened in Buryatia. Then many of the illegal miners of oil got the conflict with the local police. Police was armed with Kalashnikov, and the outcome, few of the miners were delivered to hospital because of the shooting, which was from both of the sides. Quite an interesting video, but I am unable to share it on this platform, so please check out my other one in the video description just below. It's called Telegram. Finally, it should have been done 1 year ago or even earlier. The Ukrainian Defense Minister Reznikov resigns. Actually, President Zelensky asked him to resign. Why? Well, simply because of the lots of the corruption scandals. Some of them appeared just recently. Then the price for the winter equipment rose by many times and Ukrainian budget paid for it. So it's a very strange move from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and the deputies of Reznikov. By the way, he also signed some of the contracts which recently were put under investigation. So my view, my own opinion, that Reznikov should be prosecuted as well as his deputies, but we have some rumors that he will be the ambassador of Ukraine in the United Kingdom. I don't think that it's the proper way out for him. If you watch my videos for a very long time, I already told you many times that I don't like this defense minister who is not providing new reforms to Ukrainian army. Hopefully with a new defense minister we're gonna manage it. I think that it was also the requirement from our allies, especially the United States of America, because they support Ukraine with military help and with finances which Ukraine spends for defense. If the corruption schemes exist, it's no-go. The Ukrainian society is very grateful for those independent journalists who brought the light to the corruption schemes in Ukrainian army. This information is open and was discovered by our journalists and shown to society. You may say, Dennis, don't tell about the bad stuff in Ukraine. No, this is the bad stuff, and we're also gonna speak about it because the lives of our soldiers also depend on the military supplies, which sometimes are included in the corruption schemes, which is bad, and we need to raise the attention, especially for the Western public, because the military support comes from the Western countries and from the Western people, taxpayers. I also have to tell about the new conscription limits for Ukrainian people. Now Ukraine will not just take the healthy persons to Ukrainian army. No, actually I was really surprised with the list of the health problems with which Ukrainian army hires the men. So HIV positive, hepatitis positive, persons with some mind disorders, they all may be conscripted to Ukrainian army now. Plus, there is obligatory conscription for some of the women from some of the professions, like for example medics. Well, actually that says that the Ukrainian army is in lack of the life force, because we're facing the new stage of the war where Ukraine should go on offensive operations, and for that we need many more forces compared to the defense. And Russia is up to start their mobilization. What helps Russia to avoid the massive mobilization just right now are those guys, the immigrants from the ex-Soviet countries like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Armenia. Russia is not taking them into the army by force, but they pay quite a good salary relative to the ex-Soviet countries. For example, if the guy signs the contract with the Russian army, immediately he gets around $5,000. And next he would earn $2,000 per month, which is very high salary, especially for Tajikistan, where the average salary is $175 per month. Imagine this difference. So many people voluntarily go to the Russian army to earn that much, but after they go to the front lines, they want to return back, but there is no any chance any longer. It's a one-way ticket. The same information we have from the British intelligence service. It is clear that Putin wants to postpone the mobilization because the next year is the election year for the Russian Federation, which will happen during the springtime. So we expect still the mobilization in the Russian Federation more massive than before, but after the elections. That is why Ukraine now lowered the health requirements for the army personnel and also for the personnel of the special forces, like paratroopers, for example. Some of the analytics say that Ukraine is going to win by 2025, but I have great doubts about it because this conflict may last for a very long time, even further than that, because Putin still has the power and for sure he will be re-elected the next year for 6 more years. And do you know what they did? They put Kherson Oblast, Zaporizhia, Donetsk and Luhansk in their constitution as the Russian Federation. So no matter whether the Putin is in power or someone else, according to the Russian constitution, those are the Russian territories. So they will continue to fight at least for that. For how long? Maybe until the Russian Federation starts to collapse. Or at least their constitution, because there is no way out from it. Even if Ukraine would liberate all of the territories, including Crimea, Russia will continue this fight using rockets, renewing their army, so it's the very long-lasting process unless the Russian regime collapses. That is what we were waiting for 2 months ago. Then Prigozhin marched to Moscow, but turned around and now he is kaput. Yes, Prigozhin was a terrible guy, but he might have started the process of collapse of the Russian regime and probably of the Russia itself. As for the military map update, we have the one in Klishchiivka only for today. Let's go to the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. Ukraine took the most part of the village. Actually, I got this information a few of the days ago. I shared with you, my friends, so thank you so much for watching me. This resource doesn't want to share the information immediately, even though we have the other sources which are confirming this information. Russia has the 83rd Separate Guard Assault Rifle Brigade in this territory and they're moving out a little. Still, Ukrainian army is far away from encircling the Bakhmut city, but the fighting there is very intense. You may also check it out on my Telegram channel. My friends, don't forget to press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my job, you might check out some of the links in the video description just below. Special thanks for my Patreon supporters and the sponsors of this YouTube channel. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.